So we're back working on the Jupiter 2. Are you confused? No, I'm not. Yeah, we're working on a Discovery. Of course we are. And, you know, it would be nice to be working on a Jupiter 2, but frankly, I'd rather build another Voyager. That thing has so many lights, it's scary. So what I'm working on, and have been working on, is some pretty scary stuff, and that is putting these pods together. Now, if you look inside here, you'll see I've got two pods in here facing, and this one's kind of on the big side, and that's because it's the first ones I ordered and I really didn't like them very much at all. This is the Falconware, which is, you can see now clearly that's the correct size. But the reason that I put it in there is just so if you look in from the side, you'd be able to see that there's a pod in there, and you look on the other side and you can see there's a pod in there, I think. And now you see the pod that's actually lighted up sitting on here. And you'll notice, and I hope this shows up, is it winking? There's a drop of epoxy, 5-minute epoxy in there, which made the window shine rather successfully. Now, I have nothing but good things to say about these Falconware pods. First of all, I didn't have to do any sanding on them. When I primered them and I painted them, they were just smooth and nice, and all the detail shows really well. Secondly, the slots in there for the lighting are configured, and they taper inward so that if you put a single LED there, it might light them all up. So basically, all you'd have to do is put some very thick fiber optic here and do it. He told me, the man who made these, afterwards. However, still, it might be a bit tricky because it tends to light up the darn thing like a light bulb. The thing that really I like are his claws, and because he gives you 3 sets of them, and one set is in the folded up position, another set is straight out and open, another one is sort of, you know, somewhere in between. And they fit exactly in these little slots that he made. So if you cut them off just right, and they're not as brittle as the other ones were. I mean, I just breathed on the other ones they broke. These are a lot stronger. So I was able to very successfully get these into the slots with a bit of CA, and it really, really, really comes out quite nice. Now, the other thing that I did, of course, is I put down this, there's actually this little ring around the bottom like that. I made it a little thicker to try to hide the wire, which you probably can't even see on camera. But the wire is there. I'm going to paint it black. And the wire goes through into here and comes back out here. And what I'm going to do now is hook it up to the main lighting. And if I've done everything right, we should have this light up successfully. So as always, I turn off the power first. And now I see I've got a lot of hot glue on here, which I have to remove to be able to get to, actually I can just reach that one, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder these in position. Try that again. See? So now we gotta try to get into this one. And all trying to do this by not knocking this thing off and breaking all the arms, which Elliot's is waiting to happen right now. He says Steve's going to do that. There, got that one. I think they're snug as a bug in a rug, I hope. Now, just so we don't short the whole works out, I know, George, use liquid tape, but I'm going to use this because we don't have any more wiring to do. That's the last of lighting on this model. Oh yeah, it's lit up. It's lit up just fine. You can see the headlights in there lit up. The arms kind of block them a bit, the bottom ones anyway. So now I'm ready to at last glue, because this is never coming out of here again. I know Elliot wanted me to put those Velcro tabs up, but I glued this in too well with hot glue, and I really don't want to take a chance of damaging it. So we're going to go ahead and put this in permanently and glue this together. Okay, so I got the pod bay in place, and here's those little tiny LEDs that Elliot gave me. That's a whole bunch of them, and I appreciate it so much. I can't thank you enough, Elliot. Just these really, I love these little LEDs, and I think you know that. So we're going to glue this in because, well, I just think it's time. Okay. So we're going to glue this on, and you know, this kit, I have to say, really fits together well. It just seems to, it's just, well, you know, they've always been good at it, but with the advent of computers and printing, and these things really fit together pretty darn good. Now I got to make darn sure that it's right, and then I'm going to go in from the back side with my favorite glue and think, oh, be careful of that pod, Steve. You'll break the claws off. Again, yes, I did it once. What's nice is the seam is overlapped, and what that does, of course, is allow us to not have a leak there that has to be filled either from the inside or the outside. It keeps hitting the wires before I get there. There we go. We're still not really sticking together yet. Not the way we should. I'm surprised it's just not grabbing right off the bat. It is, but it isn't. Of course, what I want to do now is get it up here and glue it to this. It doesn't seem to want to shut all the way. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, there's kind of a lip sticking up, so it makes you think it's not closing all the way. And of course, there is going to be a light gap there. That's going to have to be dealt with. So, and it's not even light blocked, so I'm going to have to go and put some tulip in there and then put a lot of paint on this at this point to light block it. I just don't see that it connects that well. I see it squishing. Yeah, it is. It's connecting. Okay. I want something under it to keep it in position. It's very scary. Oh, it ran where I did not want it to run. Of course. Oh, what a mess that made. That's why they made sandpaper. Actually, it's not CA, so we're good. When that happens with CA, you got this big bump, and it won't sand because the CA, of course, is harder than the plastic. Same thing with balsa wood when you're building a radio controlled glider like I'm supposed to be doing right now. Just kidding. More like what I wish I was doing right now. Although I am really enjoying this. I am. Well, I think it's holding. Okay, well, that was pretty instantaneous. You know, I still wish that I had like a support underneath here. Legos. No, I'm going to have to make a clear piece, I think, because until I get the wall-mounted ones, I can see a light glow coming from in here, from the back in here, so I'm going to have to. That's pretty amazing. That's the wind. I'm going to have to, airbrush some paint in there over and over again to light block that, and that's a mistake I made, and don't you make the same mistake. Make sure you light block the whole back and side. I didn't think it would matter because it just have these few little lights up inside the pod bay, and I had the aluminum tape over it, and still, because it's lighting up the bridge, it's throwing light back into here, and I overlooked light blocking this section back here where the centrifuge would be. So. But if I put enough white paint on it, I could even airbrush some primer in there over it a few times, and that will kill it. It's not real bad, and you don't see it at all, of course, when there's any light at all on. So what's next? What's next? Okay, well, besides the light blocking, what I got to do is, well, I want to add these brass parts here to, Elliot gave me these, and these are going to go back here and give some relief back here, which I think will be really nice. But I need to do a little research first and look at the pictures of the real model and figure out where they'd be best placed. In addition to that, we have these little cross members here, which replace the plastic ones, which go on the array. So they go across to these points, and they're much better because they're not going to break. And we're going to put those in. And I think that pretty much does it on the brass. These are pieces I didn't use. These are claws, which were too big, as it turned out. I thought they'd be about the right size, but so did Elliot, but they're not. So basically, we have these parts here left to put on, and that's it. So, which is great because, you know, we're almost done in that sense. Once those parts are on, then I'm going to start airbrushing this, and then working on the diorama, the stars in the back and stuff. So we'll do a bit more on this with the attaching these parts tomorrow. So we're back, and we're going to put on some brass pieces to the array that Elliot's was so kind to provide me with. So he gives you 2 chances, and hopefully you don't need them, but the brass is very thin, and you don't want to cut this too short, because if I do, then they won't fit right. So I'm going to cut them a little bit longer than they're supposed to be, and then check the fit. So there we go. Got that. And then I hope. Let me get one of my favorite popsicle sticks here and make a little glue sticky. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue in that little hole right there. Let's see if we've got any in there at all. There's got to be. What the heck? I'm sure there's some in there, right? Put it in this way, right into there. And hopefully, no, there's no glue in there. So I'm going to put a little zip kicker on there, and I'm going to put my hand there, because you don't want to get that on acrylic. Oh, yeah, a little bit on there, you think. And now, when it touches, by the way, he gives you 3 chances to screw up, so, which is always good. Elliot's always thinking. I like people who always think. Seeing how these days, many of them do not. Come on, you know you want to stick. See? Now, all I have to do is straighten it out a bit, get it into the other notches, so I'll have to put some glue in there. And, you know, at this point in time, it would be very handy if I had these. And besides, I look more like a mad scientist now, don't I? Oh, let's see. Oh boy, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's nice. That's nice. Now, there's a little probe thingy-bingy that goes in there, and I don't know if that was supposed to be on first or I put it on afterwards. Well, we're going to find out. Luckily, we have 2 more of these. So somewhere is a box down here that says 2001 on it, and there's these little tiny nubs. I think that's it, that long thing there. Let's find out. Of course, it's broken, but they do give you 2 of them, so that's handy. And yes, that's it. And these are actually supposed to be bowed outward, according to this. So, yes, so it can bow. I need a picture looking at that. Does it really stick out that far? In this entire other book. That picture of Dan Richter always cracks me up, especially now knowing the guy. Very neat an interesting human being. I don't see any real. Yeah, it really does stick out that far, and you can see it bows outwards. This whole bit. So that's why when I stuck it in there, and I said, "Oh, it's bowing outwards." When it goes into this, that's something we really want to do. Now see, it's bowing the wrong way right now. I will get that. It really don't want to do it. Come on, good. Now, I think I'm going to use CA, and I'll tell you why. Because if you use the welding liquid plastic, it's liable to melt that because it's supposed to do that. So I'll put a little bit of CA on it like that, feed it through here to here, and that's stuck very well. Now, because it's got kicker on it, so now we kind of want to pull this out and get this to bow. And it just doesn't want to do it. So what I did is I looked at the pictures over there, and I could see how this was like right at the base of this. And there's like a little part there on this antenna array. And you see now I'm getting that, that bowing. And what I did is I pulled this forward and glued it with CA to this first. I'm hoping it's straight. And then push these back into their holes. It looks pretty good. It might be a little crooked. I'm hoping not, but it might be a little crooked. No big deal if it is, because honestly, very few people are going to notice it, except you, Elliot. Nice and strong. It just bugs me that not being straight. Oh. Here goes nothing. Don't break. Oh, shit. No, I'm just kidding. It's straight. Perfect. I love it. Worked out beautifully. So, nice and strong. Much better than trying to use the ones they provide, which are real iffy looking things. I'm not quite sure where they went to, but I didn't like them much at all. So, and neither did Elliot. That's why he provided them. So, okay. Well, here's, one of them right here. Now, these already have the little things in them, and I'm half tempted to use them, but Elliot gave me these parts, and So, you see that little tiny thing right there? That's part of their part, the hub, which I cut off, because when I tried to use their little parts, they just disintegrated on me. So I had to use Elliot's. So I took their little hub and their little sensor antenna thing there, and it glued that all together. And now what I'm going to do is hopefully not lose this part like I already did once. Put a little glue on it like that, a little CA, and then very carefully place it right on there. Come on, baby, take. Like that. And I did that to that one too. So now we have, and also I took their part that was on the back side here so that this goes all the way through and connects. So it's hard to see, it's so tiny, but there is actually a part that goes from the back and touches this the way this is, since it's the antenna and it's supposed to go all the way through. So that's done. It wasn't really hard, but it wasn't really easy either. What's interesting about them is they looked like they're not straight to me, and yet they're right on the tabs exactly. So not unless these are somehow not on there straight, and I believe that they are because they can only go on one way, it's just somehow looks crooked when it's not. But it's pretty small detail, and I don't think anyone's really going to notice but me. So I've got this thing pretty much all painted and all the parts on it and everything, and it's looking really good. I'm done with that part of the build. So what I'm doing now is I'm finding that it's kind of difficult to, I mean, I could sit here and airbrush this thing forever, but as you know, we have a pretty busy studio and lots of stuff on our plate, and so I always look for quick ways of doing things, and I find that charcoals or just plain ordinary pencil works really well for those gray areas that you see in the panels. And of course I printed off some pictures of the real thing, and then I take an eraser and I smear it like this. And then I'll take that off. And then of course I can always touch up and go over it later. Some of these panels are darker than others, quite dark. Amazingly, looking at this, for some reason my printer printed out really dark, but I'm looking at the actual pictures in there, and there's some really dark areas in it, amazingly so. But then I can go back over and just lightly airbrush and dust this stuff. But I'm finding overall to get that subtlety, like right here, I did this here. I'll pull that off, and we're starting to get. I've done it over here too. Just really subtle. All the panels are gray and dark and light gray, and so I'm just going to go around and do this for a long, long time. The model keeps moving on me. It's a very fragile model, really, with the spine and everything, and trying to get this thing to sit still and not come off here is not easy. Completely got every single part on it now. And if you walk around it, I've actually hooked up the actual power supply to it as well. You can see there's the array, which I airbrushed, and I've been airbrushing all this stuff down here. I see some little gaps I don't like where parts went together, which I'll just take some squadron putty and fill in and paint over, but basically the model is completely assembled now. It wasn't that hard of a build. They're all have their difficulties. This one didn't have a lot. I just can't help but want to come in here and do some more of this. I just put a little bit of pencil in there like that, and then I take the eraser end, and it smears really nice and even. Very effective, because it would take a very long time to get in there and mask all that and get it to be accurate. So, it works really well. Very pleased with how that works. Try to get all the stuff off, then go on the outside and remove the part, erase the part you don't want. It works really well. Where is it? There it is. See? It's another thing I don't like about this model is that these parts, these things, you'll knock them off for a while until you find the ones that are going to come loose, and you stick them on, and then finally they stay permanently. Most of these are pretty strong now. This is the only one I've found in a while handling this model that wanted to come loose. So the great bloody thing. Now I'm gonna check to make sure I didn't. It looks straight. So just to cap it off for the weekend, I'm gonna put some more glue right there where that connects and let that get good and melted, and hopefully that won't turn anymore on me. I'm glad it did though, because it turned out it was crooked, and I must have moved it somewhere along the line. So don't do that. So anyway, it's looking really good, and doing the weathering on it and stuff is going to be really fun. You can see how some of them are darker than others and lighter than others, and I shouldn't touch it anymore, but there's one little spot right here. It's right there. I'm not moving the ball. Really, I'm not. And also the pencil is really good for accenting panel lines, because you can go that. I use pencils and charcoals a lot. Because these are supposed to be darker in here too, so, but I'll be doing that. Did I move the ball again? No, no. Anyway, it starts to breathe some life into it and start getting those shades that we're so used to seeing on this model. But next week, we will do all that. We will shade this whole thing. We will weather it and everything, and then we'll start on the mounting for it to mount on the wall. To make the box, I'm going to just take a piece of plexiglass. I've got a big sheet of it back there. I'm going to cut a piece about this long and about that narrow. And I'm going to sand it down, so, you know, the clear Plex, so that I can put some black primer on it, a lot of it. And then I'm going to take a drill and a little different sizes of drill bits. But I'm not going to drill all the way through it. I'm just going to go beep, 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 beep. I'm going to make a whole star field. Because when you take the drill to it and turn it like that, it'll remove paint in those little dots. And then when you put diffusion, well, you won't need diffusion, because just doing the drilling alone, the fact you've sanded it for the primer, the black primer, will cause it to be diffused. So when you put lighting behind it, I'm going to put LED strip lighting behind it, and the plexiglass will be over a box. And then these, the ones that are made for coming out of the wall, will be mounted to it. There will be a whole star field behind it. It'll be mounted on the wall, so it'll be really, really cool. So I think it was Mary's idea to do that. She says, we got to mount it on the wall because we're running out of room. Yes, it was Mary's idea. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed part 8. So I've got it straight now. Part 9 will be the conclusion, I'm hoping. So, and that will be next week. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I hope you're learning and having fun with this model. I certainly have been.